So welcome everyone. At our last commission meeting, we took up the issue of our rebranding study, and we realized that there was probably a lot of information to digest, and ultimately that we might be better served by having a workshop before we make any decisions or provide any direction. So this is that workshop, and I believe who's going to kick it off here? I'm just going to hand it over to our staff, and then and who's going to kick it off here? Kathy, you there?
Good evening,
there
Mayor.
You are.
Yes, I can go ahead.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. As Mayor Scholl was mentioning, this is a next step in our rebranding project. So at last month's commission meeting, we provided the first formal report of phase 1 of our rebranding project. And during that presentation, we communicated key findings such as strong feelings towards the city among all of our stakeholders, so residents, business owners, and employees, and various unifying elements just between the east and west sides of our community. So with that, we now want to have some additional, now that we've had some additional time to digest the report and all of the information in there, we hope to gain some input and insight from all of you regarding these findings and recommendations. So the goal for tonight is we hope to delve further into this, what this research has taught us and how it will guide us into phase 2 of this project. So throughout the presentation, our goal is to pause in between each sections, just to give us some time to, really discuss and get into some of your feedback and your thoughts on these different sections and the information that's been really uncovered throughout all of this research, which, in my opinion, and as Mayor Scholl mentioned, there's a lot of information here, and it's a lot of good information, some of which was a little bit not surprising per se, but it was interesting to find out. And then a lot of the information that, a lot of us we've heard over the years as some of the guiding principles for our vision for the future. So for tonight, I just want to make it clear that we are not proposing any new brand at this moment or any new brand elements. This is really a conclusion of our phase 1, which was focused on the research. So getting, the pulse check from all stakeholders at all levels and, guiding us into what will be the design phase, which is our phase 2 of this project. So tonight, really, we are simply focusing on the key findings of this research and how it's going to guide our brand positioning and our priorities for the design phase of this project. After tonight, the Jacober creative team, who is joining us, Luisa Jimenez and Paul Jacober, they're going to take all this information that we discussed tonight and take it into consideration as they prepare their recommendations for our branding elements, and that will include our mission and vision statement, our tagline, and our logo. And just to mention some of what's expected to come in our design phase. And in the coming months, we hope to come back to you with a next presentation of those brand elements for discussion and then eventually for formal adoption. So if at this moment there are no questions, I will hand it over to the Jacober creative team.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kathy. That was a great synopsis of what we have been working on for the past year plus. So without further ado, I think everyone present here was also present at the last commission meeting where we sort of went through our findings in detail. But so in the consideration of our limited time, we're not going to delve so deep into the research findings. And we're, like Kathy mentioned, really going to concentrate more on the brand positioning elements, which is a sort of overall, sort of high level overview of the direction that we're going to take in the next phase 2 of our project.
Which that, like Kathy mentioned, that phase 2 will include the specific messaging, the specific visuals.
Mm-hmm. So just give me a moment. Am I able to share my screen here? Yes, I think I am. Hold on, sorry.
Yes, you should have the ability to do so.
Great. Fantastic. Give me a second. There we go. Awesome. So just give me one. Oh. Hold on. Lovely. Okay. So without further ado, we're going to go over sort of the condensed version of the presentation that you guys saw last time, and again overview our findings. So just to sort of start off high level, we were really guided by this one phrase in the RFP, which we felt really perfectly encapsulated what our overall goal was for the project, not just only the research and the branding, but also what we eventually wanted to come out with in terms of the deliverables, what our visuals and what our messaging strategy was going to support, which is to create a unified and identifiable look that residents can connect with, businesses want to work with, and employees are proud to represent. And in order to do so, we thought that the best way to do that is to make sure that we obtain the input from all of these different groups and incorporate that into our research strategy. We then further expanded our objectives to include the following: to create a unified brand that reflects the evolution of the city and its future growth, to connect local government with the community it serves, to inspire resident engagement with the city, both in person and online, to attract potential businesses and investors to the area, and of course, to position the city of Sunny Isles Beach as a safe, responsive, and sought-after community. Now, to begin, our research really consisted of a mix of qualitative and quantitative research, qualitative in the form of focus groups and quantitative in the form of online and phone surveys. So to begin with, 3 focus groups comprising of city employees, local business owners and operators, and residents were conducted to gather insights to the city from these unique groups. And this was all done pre-COVID, so it was a much easier process to do. For our quantitative portion, a phone survey was fielded first to proactively reach out to Sunny Isles Beach residents. And then an online survey was also provided as a platform for residents, businesses, and visitors to really submit their input. So now in total, we received 941 total responses, and that really sort of represents a margin of error of 3.2% at a 95% level of confidence. So that means that, we are very confident with this representative sample and our findings from it.
And so one of the most rewarding parts of this entire exercise has really been hearing from the people who live and work here in Sunny Isles Beach, and more importantly, what they had to say. And as you can see here in some of these research findings, the employees, businesses, and residents really overwhelmingly have strong, warm feelings for the city where they live and work, which is a great sign. There was some recollection of previous attempts at taglines and slogans like that world-class city, Florida's Riviera, but they all they failed to really generate excitement in a city that the residents and the general population are clearly happy to be a part of. And when probed, most people believed that the city seal was really representative or the city's main logo. And while the discussion on the logo was brief, those who expressed an opinion really wanted something to help unify the east and west side of the community. And as a takeaway, we also derived from the focus group this really high-level take on the descriptors, from exclusive to luxurious. Diverse was a big one, family-oriented, and the duality of modern with an undertone of old town. And really coming into this project, there were numerous concerns expressed about the perceived divide between the residents of the west and the east sides of Collins Avenue. And we were well aware of the differences between the two sides of this beachside community. And the concerns resurfaced during the focus group phase of the research. But something that we really took away and thought was very unique take on it was from one particular resident, and it was actually the very closing of one of the focus groups, where he really explained in a beautiful, simple way just the unification and unity he felt with both sides of the community, and described it with the metaphor of the sunrise in the morning on the east that residents get to partake in, And then the other residents get to take part in the sunset in the evening on the west side. And that really created this sort of sense of flow, that any stress, nobody misses out by living in this community. We thought that was very special. And he really expressed that the inherent beauty to be found in both sides. And again, I think this quote was almost verbatim, that there is unity, nobody loses out in the city of Sunny Isles Beach. And we really liked that. The four main pillars that stood out from the focus groups were these four here, from the landscape, access to the beach and intercoastal, to the quality of life. Overwhelmingly, everybody thought it was really a safe community to bring up a family, to sort of hang out at night and walk the streets. The people, that felt like everybody had, a really connection with their neighbors. And they've all felt and appreciated the diversity and multicultural component of it. And obviously the location, that it's, close to the airports, close to neighboring communities, and obviously very centrally located to the ocean. And then here, the residents and businesses, we found really agreed that the city of Sunny Isles Beach were these adjectives. Feminine in the sense that the ocean, they really sort of feel like it relates to a female as a she, beautiful women, that it's colorful from the sunrises and sunsets, to even the sense of like the diversity of the population, the fun duality between luxury and casual, that the two can actually live together very well. And that's going to be one of our big efforts for a lot of the verbiage, messaging, and visuals that we're going to be producing. And very good old-fashioned simple word, fun.
So those were some of the high-level takeaways from our focus groups. And when we delved a little bit more into the sort of quantitative portion of this, which were the online surveys and the phone surveys, what we want to present to you guys today is just sort of an overview of the latter part of it, but I'll just quickly sort of go over some of the sort of the demographic factors that we found out in our surveys. So 75% live in the city, 10% live and work here, 7% work but do not live, and 8% of our respondents were visitors. The majority of the respondents were 35 years or older. The top three primary language that people spoke were English, Spanish, and Russian. 94% lived in households with 4 or less people. And while most declined to answer, the majority of respondents made over $50,000 a year. Of the respondents, 81% lived here year-round, 19% part-time, 67% lived west of Collins, 33% east of Collins, and the majority of the respondents have lived in Sunny Isles or worked there for between 1 and 14 years. And as we sort of delve into the positive word association, it was really interesting to see, these sort of, intricacies of that sort of personality association popping up. So overwhelmingly, overall, we saw a lot of associations with sort of aesthetic value and beauty. So you can see here, full 63% of the respondents thought that this was the most positive word association, followed by safety, walkability, family, and diversity. In terms of personality associations, again, a strong emphasis on aesthetics, with 40% deeming it attractive, then followed by family-oriented, and then friendly and outdoorsy. And then emotional association. So this one was actually a very interesting question in terms of the data that it surfaced. So while evaluating the sort of emotional association with the city, the surprising statistic that we found surfaced regarding joy and pride. Residents felt more joy than non-residents, but conversely, significantly less pride. And that sort of discrepancy in pride is something that kept on popping up when we were sort of further segmenting by audience and by demographic. And it's something that, we thought that there was a very large disconnect, for a city that people feel very satisfied with and are very happy about and have very strong and warm feelings for. There was a certain disconnect with pride that we saw in our data. That is something that we're certainly using in terms of further measuring and benchmarking our continued efforts to continue to try to bolster that within the population. And the last question was in regards to Net Promoter Score. And so this is basically where we asked everyone how likely they were to recommend the city as a place to live or work to their friends or family. And the thing that is most significant about this one, and especially when you're talking about a sort of municipal context, is that Sunny Isles Beach residents are a very satisfied population. So 45%, all of these participants recorded a perfect 10. That's almost unheard of. And then conversely, on the other end of that, only 4% of our respondents recorded a 3 or under. So, again, that, we see that, when you look at that graph, that it skews very heavily towards that perfect 10 number. So when we use this information and we convert it to a sort of Net Promoter Score, we got an overall very favorable 42. And again, I would just remind you guys that Net Promoter Score is based on a grade of -100 to 100, so that anything less than any sort of negative number, anything less than 0 is obviously it's a detractor, and anything above that is considered very favorable, which we got in spades. So in terms of the wish list.
Yeah, when posing the question to the elected officials about what they wanted, what you wanted, the new branding of the city to really communicate, these were really the takeaways, and that the desire for the logo to communicate that it's a family-friendly community, that it's a diverse, modern, cosmopolitan beachfront community, a city, where residents and visitors can enjoy city-organized activities and entertainment, with a premier location between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and that it's bright, beautiful, serene, and inclusive.
So these were all wish lists that were taken in advance of our quantitative portion, and actually really sort of very closely mirrored what we saw within that quantitative portion. So again, we're seeing a lot of the same sort of wishes and concerns and hopes for what the city is and people's relations to it, which we further distill in our brand positioning. So again, what that brand positioning basically does is sort of like a driver of where we're going to then focus our efforts and really sort of hone our branding and communication strategy for the city as we continue to develop it within the next couple of months. And the idea, one more thing. And the idea here is that, based upon all of this research, we are not only reflecting where the city is today and, sort of how not only the population at large, but, the businesses, the employees see the city, but also we position it in a way that has sort of an everlasting feel, right? So that this new branding, this new messaging of the city has that resiliency to last you guys for the next 20, 30 plus years, and is able to adapt to that future development and growth that you guys are experiencing. So when we dive into brand positioning and really what that means, we take first a look. Do we have any questions? I'm sorry, I didn't pause for for questions on the previous portion.
It's all right, Louisa.
I have a question actually. When you said that there was a disconnect, when you asked some of these participants regarding pride, did you ask them how long they've been living in the city?
Yeah. That's something that if you reference our report, our full report, we have a graph that points that out. Yeah.
Okay, and what did you see? I mean, I'll take a look at the graph, but it'll be interesting to see if how long they've been here has affected their pride in the city or not.
Yeah, and it's certainly very interesting that because we did see that, if the longer that you have been a resident of the city, so you see it, so you see that line sort of going like slowly up. So it starts actually, there's a sort of like heat map attached to that particular graph. And actually I can sort of reference what page it is, more or less. I have it here.
One of the interesting.
You could continue, and then
It's on page 68. No, because I need that report backwards and forwards. So it does.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But yeah, so it was an interesting. It's an interesting data point because yeah, we do see that, you know, if you have a relatively less time in the city, obviously you don't necessarily have enough time to get that pride in, but the longer that you do live in the city, you see those numbers go up. So that was an interesting point.
Yeah, because we don't always see that with some of these projects for different municipalities. So it was very, very unique that you guys have that. As time goes on, people don't get more frustrated necessarily. They actually develop a sense of, you know, longevity and pride and wanting to really be a part of the community.
I was actually looking at that graph, Alex, and the 1 to 5 years was the largest group of people that were polled. And people who have only been here since 2015, I mean, I don't think they're not that they're to be faulted for it, but they can't appreciate how quickly you know, Sunny Isles Beach has grown, because they've only seen the last piece of it. You know, so I found that very interesting that they were the largest group, the 1 to 5 years were residents.
Yeah. Okay. What page was that again? I'm sorry.
50.
50.
Yeah. That's the graph I'm looking at. There may be others, but.
In the booklet, in the actual full report, with all the
Okay. Yeah, I have the other one open. Yeah, I have the one that's only 51. That's 51 pages. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Okay. All right.
Any other questions on the research portion of it?
No, I'm okay for now.
Okay. So, as I was saying, in terms of the brand positioning, we definitely want to take into account sort of the assets of the city, which are largely recognized as the world-renowned architecture, diverse population, the amenities for residents and visitors, of course, your valuable real estate, and then, of course, you know, that brand identity that exists on a certain level, but certainly needs to be refined and co-opted by, you know, the entire population for it to grow and remain consistent. So again, we identified areas of focus for this next phase. So we want to raise the city's profile as an upmarket and sophisticated place to live. Same time, emphasizing the city as a casual and family-friendly place, expanding the promotion of its beach, pier, and recreational amenities, emphasizing the city's location with regards to Miami and Fort Lauderdale, positioning the city as sort of more tranquil and navigable, alternative to Miami Beach, more sophisticated than Broward County, and more centrally located to similar high-end mixed single-family and high-rise coastal cities like Key Biscayne. And then, of course, take advantage of the recent uptick in buyers from high-tax metro areas such as New York and California. And then, you know, just sort of summarize that, you know, we really feel that the city has unique an opportunity to leverage its already strong standing with existing residents into a winning place branding strategy that strengthens its broader appeal to future residents, businesses, and by extension, visitors. So any questions on that part?
Nope. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to framing and messaging.
Fantastic. So in terms of just giving this a more clear and organized framing, so we identified our primary and secondary targets. So our primary targets are current and potential residents. And these are the people that we want to sort of speak to most profoundly. Our secondary targets are investors, businesses, and visitors. And in terms of categorization, you know, it's a very specific category. It's an oceanfront community in Miami-Dade County. And in terms of benefits, so these are the things that are going to sort of be pervading all of our messaging. It's a beautiful beach, the safe surroundings, family-friendly parks and recreational opportunities, progressive urban planning, and world-class architecture. And then to sort of further expand upon that, you know, when we think of the differentiators for the city, you know, it's typically been beauty, quality, and value. But some of the things that we really found out through this research process specifically is that customer service is an additional factor which we should continue to really differentiate the city on. Although it's known to your residents, it may not be known to the general public or people that are considering, you know, relocating to Sunny Isles. So, you know, again, this is a positive differentiator that can really be reinforced for prospective residents and investors. And then to sort of like, again, give you a sort of encapsulation of what our main message for the city is that the city of Sunny Isles Beach is a South Florida oceanfront community that offers the pillars of a quality upscale lifestyle for all citizens: a beautiful landscape, a safe and family-friendly environment, culturally rich municipal amenities, and a progressive urban vision. Any questions on that? Fantastic. And so taking that into account, that brand positioning, that framing for the city, and again, sort of this is sort of like our direction for which we will then take. It's a high level like direction, and then we're then going to continue to execute on. You know, we really see that there is an opportunity to continue to refine that messaging, both from an internal and external perspective. From that internal perspective, you know, again, that data point about pride, this is where that comes up. You know, we want to make sure that we have an internal campaign aimed at increasing civic pride among residents and business owners. And then parallel to that, because we know that really great brands start from within and city employees are the best personification of the city brand, we'll have an internal initiative also among the employees of the city so that they know how to then best portray that branding message. And then from an external perspective, you know, we have another campaign aimed at visitors, prospective businesses, and then the future residents of the city. So that being said, we're going to be focusing on these key elements: the positive words. The top 3 positive words were relatively stable across all of our segments when we did our segmentation across demographics: beauty, safety, walkability, and then of course family oriented. That community, like at the core, the city of Sunny Isles Beach is a beautiful walkable elevated community that's great for the entire family. So that's, again, something that we want to keep pushing and make sure that we're adequately messaging on. And then the personality traits with that are associated with the city, which is security, comfort, and calmness, which is something that is, you know, very valuable for, you know, not only residents looking for their future home, but in terms of investors and businesses also wanting to make sure that, you know, their investments are protected and are ensconced in this type of environment. So from there, we have sort of prioritized these 4 different campaigns, which, you know, again, followed the brand positioning structure and framework. 1 is a campaign to increase pride among current residents. 2 is a campaign to attract new residents. 3 is a campaign to attract businesses. And 4 is that visitor campaign. Any questions here? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you can keep moving.
Oh, okay. I thought,
Yeah,
someone raised their hand.
No, I said no. I said no.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's the end. That's our, you know, brand framing, our priorities. This basically sort of gives you guys an idea of where our headspace is at and where we're going to be focusing our efforts as we continue to develop this brand and the communication strategy to achieve all of this.
Okay, great. Let's, Let me see how much time we have. Okay, we got a little bit of time left. So why don't we get feedback from the commission? And either say what you like, don't like, reinforce what you're saying. But I think that the presentation is excellent. I think that the study was excellent. So, Alex, you want to go first?
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, what we want to do with the community, I mean, family oriented came up a lot in the study, and I think that's the desire of a lot of our residents. We are a more common alternative to Miami Beach. I mean, we don't want to even want to come close to what Miami Beach is at this point, or even Fort Lauderdale. And so I think that when we do advertise and we do promote the city, to visitors, it should be to family-oriented tourism. I think that's going to be key. That way, we don't have that friction, or the brand kind of equals the identity or the product of what Sunny Isles Beach is. So that's my comment.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thanks, Alex. Dana, would you like to go?
I don't have much to add. For me, I prefer the mantra of diverse, modern, and cosmopolitan. I think that that's really forward thinking, but I have no other comments. I think we've done an excellent job. It's very thorough and very impressive.
Thank you.
Okay, Jennifer. You're on mute, Jennifer. You're on mute.
Of course I am. I also enjoyed the presentation. I particularly like this idea of nobody loses out. On one side you have the sunrise, on the other side you have the sunset. There's beauty on both sides. It's a very positive message. It's a very positive concept that I'd like to see explored more, if that's possible to build that in somewhere, because I think it summarizes us very well. And in terms of, I know we had other, like the Florida's Riviera, we've had other efforts. Whatever we decide, I would just not want to be compared to something else. Like we should have our own, Florida's Riviera means we're being compared to something, right? I'd like to see have our own identity. And I agree with Alex, family-oriented tourism, I think would help us avoid some of the other problems that we're seeing in the older cities. So I think that was a good idea as well.
Thanks, Jennifer. Vice Mayor?
Thank you again for this presentation. I had spent a lot of time looking at this, and I really appreciate all the work that was put in. I questioned some of the statistics because I thought that we had more Russian speakers and Portuguese speakers, but I appreciated the amount of detail that was put in here. And what really stood out for me were the words bright, beautiful, serene, and inclusive. It's somewhat similar to what Commissioner Goldman says, that the inclusivity I really like, which to me also means diversity. And the bright, beautiful, serene also makes it, like Commissioner Goldman said, cosmopolitan. I agree with Commissioner Viscar about not wanting to be compared to someone, because I've seen so many articles where we were included, but we were called Miami. For some of our architecture, for some of our new businesses. So definitely for me, it's something that we have to work on to stand out. Family oriented, that's exactly who we are. But really something that says, this is us, we're on the map, even though we're small. We really make a difference in this community in our own special way. So yes, thank you very much for the presentation. It's a lot of information.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm going to mute myself. Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I'm not going to, I think everybody, the points that we heard from the commission were all very solid. Two things I'll focus on. One is I think you got a good participation rate, which is wonderful. So I feel very confident that what you presented is representative of how people feel. You know, a lot of times we do these things and you hear the results and it's like, you know, maybe, it's biased one way or another simply because we didn't get, enough people to participate. So, maybe it was boredom during COVID or something, I don't know, or your excellent interview skills, but something clicked here where, a 95% confidence interval is very, very good from a statistical standpoint. So my main comment centers around this east-west divide. Okay. And I've lived here 30 years, so I get the pride factor, so I've been a resident for 30 years, long before we were a city. So, but the east-west divide. So what I would say, when we have a campaign to attract new residents, it's not just about $4 million condos on the ocean. There's $400,000 condos across the street, and even cheaper ones. There's $150,000 condos in some buildings. And I think that all those residents matter. It probably rings to the diversity issue that Commissioner Goldman brought up. And so I think that when you weave these campaigns together, and the businesses, it's not just about a national tenant. It's about local businesses too. I mean, one of the things we stressed during COVID was support our local businesses. They're getting killed right now, and so and the nature of our retail, like it or hate it. I mean, there's a lot of arguments over our retail, but the fact is, the nature of our retail is small shops in many instances. So again, I think when you look to put a campaign to attract businesses, let's kind of look at both sides of the fence. And visitors are visitors. I mean, that's I think that's that's got its own nuances to it. But in general, I think the work is excellent. That's really why I wanted to have this workshop, because I felt like, you had a lot of content in that last meeting. When we're in a commission meeting, it's a different dynamic. We had a little bit more breathing room here today, and we appreciate you coming back, giving us the condensed version. And I think I think everybody could approach it a little more thoughtfully today and give you some positive feedback. So, good job. Jill and Kathy, thank you very much for, putting it together. And I'm certainly looking forward to the next phase. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very good information. Great report.
Okay. Mauricio, I think we'll take a 15-minute recess, and then we'll start the commission meeting at 6:30.
Sounds good, Mayor.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Sorry, before we close the meeting, just to let the audience know that it will be a different link that was advertised on the city's website. So everyone can exit out of this meeting and join the other link that was sent out.
Right. It's not it's a different Zoom meeting. So thank you for the commission meeting. Great. Thank you. See y'all.